Hey, what is up guys, you got Gypsy, and today I'm back bringing you guys coverage of my playoff run in ITL Season 9. So this was a Galar only Dex, so very early on into the gen, and it's a couple of months old now, but I thought I'd bring it to you guys for some more Mons content on the channel. And yeah, this time around it's going to be a Galar only Dex, so we don't have access to Pokemon Home and all the new moves and Mons that are available in that, so it's pretty restricted in that sense, but it definitely made for a fun season, something different, and yeah, it was good to test some of these new Mons out. So I'm facing off against Moran. Moran and I played in the regular season. We had a great game earlier on in the season, so I'll actually be leaving a link to all my regular season games in the description, so go and check those out if you're keen. And he ended up finishing pretty high, I think, in the standings. For context, I finished first overall, and I was able to take a few weeks off at the end of the season because my differential was in such a good spot. So I hadn't played Moran in a few weeks. We played a few weeks earlier, but he'd been hot. He'd just come off a playoff win, so this was always going to be a good one. And I think he took out Aki in round 1. I could be wrong. It was a long time ago. Could have been. It was Aki or Evan, one of the two. And he was looking pretty fierce for this playoff rematch. So he's got a strong team here. Before we jump into his, I'll just do a quick breakdown of my draft because I haven't really covered it at all for this season. So I had Rillaboom on my team, Grassy Surge Rillaboom, fun mon to use. Not that amazing in draft as I thought it would be, but still a fun mon, no doubt. I think that could have partly been due to the nature of just the restrictions on this dex. I think in a more open post-home dex, Rillaboom will actually have more of a chance to shine, as funny as that sounds. There are a lot of natural checks to it in the tier, in just the normal Galar Dex, but definitely an interesting mon. You can get pretty creative with its sets. Would love to see it get some different moves in the future though, to add to its arsenal, but I had rotom-heat as well, which you can see on screen. Mons that aren't on screen that I had were Roserade, pretty solid to use. Not as good as Gen 7, but still a really reliable defensive mon. And offensive is pretty solid too. I had Esby on my team, I had Mimikyu, I had Ludicolo, and I also had Vanillux, which I really enjoyed using. So yeah, a couple of really fun mons on the team. Corsola here, defensive Corsola, really solid MVP across the season. Really good in the Galar Dex. And yeah, the 6 you see on screen. So Moran's got a really good team. He like I said, he had a good season, and we did face earlier on, so I had some sort of inkling into what he'd bring. He's got a very offensive team. He's got the Silvally, which has become like incredibly good in Gen 8. In my opinion, I think it's like leaps and bounds above its previous state in Gen 7. And he's shown a tendency to run Silvally Steel, and he actually ran that versus me the previous time we played, so it's definitely factored into how I've built. There are some Silvally types on the cards that he could bring, but yeah, Steel just makes a lot of sense versus my team. I don't have great checks to it. Rotom can be chipped down pretty easily, and Ludicolo is my water type, which can be abused by U-turn, is pretty easily chipped. Although defensive Ludicolo actually makes a lot of sense here as a Barraskewda check, but nonetheless, I'm expecting Silvally Steel in some, more than likely from Moran's side. But he's got the Hydra, which is a menace to most teams, and to my team it's no different. Like +2 Life Orb, Nasty Plot Flash Cannon can break through Togekiss, so I am rocking Babiri Berry on Togekiss, which also helps me take on a Silvally Steel. He's got the Barraskewda here, which is a menace offensively, and I did for quite a while contemplate bringing defensive Ludicolo, but yeah, Poison Jab off this thing is really strong, so I opted instead to bring a Fizdef based, it's like mixed def but predominantly Fizdef Corsola with Curse Body and Strength Sap, so I can always abuse. I take under 40 from banned Adamant Liquidation, which is just nuts, so I can always come back in, heal up on anything. Even if he gets a defense drop, I'm out of range of the following +1 like banded Liquidation, which is nice. So definitely a big threat. Now Sigilyph is probably the biggest threat on his team outside of Silvally. Sigilyph is really nasty, and Calm Mind Life Orb, which is what he brought last time and what makes a lot of sense versus my team, is really nice. He could run Dazzling Gleam to be able to hit Umbreon really hard, which is important. He doesn't need ice coverage. He ran Psychic Ice Beam last time with Calm Mind Roost. I don't think he really needs Ice Beam here, but if he opts to run it, it's going to give him a quicker way of taking out Noivern and Togekiss. So something to watch for that actually factored into how I built my Umbreon. I'm running Payback on this set with a little bit of attack to always ensure that I 2 KO his Sigilif. I don't have to rely on foul play doing like 40% to it, 33, 40%, and I can actually always 2 KO him there, which is important. Then he's also brought his Jellicent, which is a solid check to things like my Rhyperior if he's Fizz Def, but he's more than likely specially based to help him check the Noivern. Noivern ran through his team last time, gave him a lot of trouble, and as you can see, like Noivern really dents his team without a specially based Jellicent, so that's what I'm thinking at matchup. It also helps him versus the Togekiss as well. As my Ninetales, I have just regular Ninetales on my team, which can cook most of his team if he doesn't have a solid fire resist. So, like I said, expecting Silvally Steel here and some sort of physically defensive, potentially Trick Room offensive Runerigus, but more than likely Rocks in this set. So I'm going to lead Togekiss as he leads off with his Runerigus, and this is a good spot for me. I'm going to slow it down. I'm just going to go for Air Slash turn 1, lose nothing by it, get info on Silvally if he comes in, and potentially get a flinch off and damage off on this Runerigus. I need this thing low for my Rotom to put in work. I'm a Babiri Berry Togekiss, I'm Rocky Helmet Nasty Plot Rotom. My Noivern is what's my Noivern? My Noivern's Life Orb, 3 attacks on this Noivern. I've got, like I said, a Fizz Def, Golsola, a specially based Wish Umbreon with Payback, and my win con here is a Rock Polish Weakness Policy Rhyperior. So this is cool. I'm going to lead Togekiss, going to get the Air Slash off, and he's going to get flinch turn 1. He's going to switch out, not wanting to risk another, and go into his Silvally Steel. Good information for me. I get damage off on that, and that reveals to be quite a bulky, quite an invested Silvally there. I do have quite a nice amount of special attack on my Togekiss, so that's good information to have. He's going to go for Poison Fang here. I stay in and just go for the parry here, because I'm the Babiri Berry. I'm not fearing a multi-attack too much, and he's actually going to go for the Poison Fang, trying to catch what I presume to be my Rotom there, or maybe a defensive Noivern. So, interesting tech on his end. I'm going to go for Flamethrower and chip that thing down nicely. He's going to go for Poison Fang and get the Toxic off. I'm going to wrist up this turn. I don't expect it to stay in. I expect him to go into something to take the Flamethrower. As my Togekiss gets back up to a nice amount, and he goes into his Jelly here. So he's going to get fully parried here on the T-Wave. And I'm going to switch out this turn. I'm going to go into my Corsola as he gets fully parried again, so unlucky on his side. I'm going to throw my Rocks up as he goes into his Silvally. This turn I'm going to switch out to my Rotom as he goes to the Rest. So this is cool. He's revealed Rest. So he's Rest, Poison Fang. That means he's more than likely not SD, unless he's like no Rest Talk. He could be Rest, SD, multi-attack, Poison Fang. It's possible. Poison Fang also letting him get past the defensive Ludicolo, so really smart bring on his end. But this turn he's going to switch out into his Runerigus as I go for the Overheat. I go for Overheat as opposed to Nasty Plot. I did deliberate on that turn quite a bit. I certainly could have Nasty Plotted expecting the sack here, and I would have been left at neutral, but had he gone into Hydra, I wanted to get damage. I wanted to scout how much bulk he had on this, because whether or not he has lefties helps me determine whether or not he's a subset. In our previous game, I actually caught him with an early T-Wave from Rotom, and that really screwed his Hydra over, really made it kind of useless in the game. So this time around I was expecting some sort of either Lum or something like sub-lefties, or even like sub-Roost, Life Orb potentially, but I was expecting some way of getting around T-Wave Rotom, so I just wanted to fire off the Overheat and get damage on anything if I could. And he chooses to bring in his Runerigus, which actually gets off the Citrus Berry, so now he's going to be out of range of a -2 Overheat. He's going to get up his Rocks, and I'm fine with that. I'm just going to cook a Runerigus the following turn, and he's down. So that opens up Rotom nicely. No electric resist now. He's going to go into Hydra and Dark Pulse. I Volt Switch here just in case he wanted to go for the sub. Sub also abuses Umbreon, which is another reason why I felt it was likely that he could bring it. He's going to go for Dark Pulse. I'm just going to get the -2 Volt off and go into my Noivern here. Get the nice slow U-turn off into Noivern. I go into Noivern in case I go for Volt there just in case he wanted to sub Infiltrator, so I would have been able to scare out this Hydra the following turn, and he has no Fairy, so Draco would have been pretty free. But I'm going to go into my Umbreon here as why did I make that play? Let me see. So I Volt out into Noivern as his as I scare out his Hydra here. So, right, yeah. So I switch out to Umbreon because at this point I'm pretty convinced that his Jolteon is... no, that's right. I was thinking this could be Haban on his Hydra. That's why I scouted for it. I don't stay in. If he stays in and goes for something like Drake of his own, he's more than likely Haban, which would allow him to be able to lure and take out my Noivern. And Noivern is really important in this endgame. Like, if he's Adamant Barraskewda, I'm creeping that with my Noivern, so I can always revenge that with Draco. And yeah, that Life Orb Flamethrower, it could be really clutch for the Silvally in the late game, as well as taking out his Sigilif if I'm at neutral. So I don't want to lose Noivern to a greedy play early. I'm just going to make the play out to my Umbreon. If he's Haban, he stays in Dracos. If he's not, he's going to go into his Jelly, which can eat a hit and recover up, and I'm going to be forced to switch out anyway. So making the play out into Umbreon here as he goes into his Jelly. So this turn, I think I just wish up. No, I go for Protect. Wanting to scout what he has. And he is Skulled, so he's Skulled lefties, so yeah, he's more likely a defensive set as opposed to being some kind of taunt, as opposed to being some kind of like subset or anything like that. He's going to get the burn here, and this changes the way I can play around his Sigilif at that point. The second he got the burn, I was kind of risking it there, like not the smartest play on my end to stay in, but truthfully I don't have a ton for this Jellicent outside of my Togekiss, and I needed to get this thing wished up. I wanted to get this thing nice and healthy. I didn't want him to have like a rogue offensive with Ice Beam and take out my Togekiss on the switch in with a crit or something like that. So I try and bait him into just scalding so I can get the wish off into my Togekiss as he gets parried there. And it turns out that he is specially defensive, so like even if he clicked Ice Beam there, it wouldn't have taken me out, but I wanted to play it safe if I could. And he's going to get fully parried there. I'm going to go back out into my Umbreon as he does reveal the Ice Beam. So because I am Toxic, I can't really stay in necessarily with Togekiss on the Jellicent and just click Air Slash. It's a good backup if I need to, but he always has that Rest Silvally in the back, so I've got to be careful with how much Toxic I'm accumulating on my Togekiss. He's going to fire off the Taunt here to reveal to be Taunt 2 attacks, recover most likely. And I'm going to pass the Wish into my Rotom here. I'm actually Partial Berry on this Rotom. I think I said I was Rocky Helmet earlier. That was on a previous iteration of the team, but I ended up going with Partial to give me another check to his Barraskewda. It also helps me versus the Jellicent, which is nice in this position. So I'm going to go for Discharge here. He is going to go for the Scald and pop my Berry. So even if he didn't get parried on that turn and he clicked Scald, we would have lived the hit and received the Wish. But this turn I am going to go for the Nasty Plot. So that was a good switch on Moran's part. He played that well. Not wanting to risk a para with his Jelly. I chose the Nasty Plot that turn in case he just wanted to scald me down, because Rotom is a big irritation to his team. But I'm going to go into my Togekiss here on his Hydra, as he's just going to go for the Dark Pulse. And I'm going to take a bit more chip. I'm down pretty low, but this turn I just stay in and go for the Air Slash, as I don't have Dazzling Gleam, and that's going to be really nice damage off in his Hydra. So this is no longer a switch into Rotom. Rotom's Overheat now with rocks up too. He's going to be really pressured to switch into Rotom. As I'm going to go for the Dragon Pulse here with my Noivern. The reason I ran Dragon Pulse as well is because of this kind of a scenario. I didn't want him to be able to bring in Silvally on a Draco and take very little from a -2 Flamethrower the following turn. So Draco gave me enough damage versus Hydra. Like, it always kills Hydra with Life Orb, and it also kills Barraskewda. So I didn't really have to run Draco in this match. It makes me weaker versus Sigilif, but I had pretty stout responses to that in Umbreon, so it wasn't too fussed there. But he's going to go into his Silvally and Sleep Talk or Poison Fang, so he's not SD, or he's not multi-attack, one of the two. I'd imagine he is multi-attack, but he pulls the rest there, and this turn I'm going to take out the Silvally. So that's really big. That's one less irritation to my team. And this turn he's going to go into his Barraskewda. I'm going to switch hard into Solar, the check, and we're going to eat up this Liquidation pretty nicely, 34%. We don't get the Curse Body, but we will be able to Strength Sap the following turn. But I'm not going to stay in and Strength Sap. So this is a really pivotal turn in the game. So like I mentioned earlier, his Sigilif is the biggest threat at this point. Hydra, checked. Hydra's doing nothing the rest of this game. It's weakened. I've got ways to outspeed it and ways to check it defensively. This Barraskewda is certainly a threat, but I do have my Corsola, which can, if I can keep Corsola healthy, which I'm incentivized to because he has Barraskewda, I can always check that thing with like Wisp, Strength Zap. His main, Jellicin's parried, like it's kind of weakened, it's not winning this game. His main way to victory here is his Sigilif, and Moran has shown many times that he values Sigi as a win con. He's used it very well with Carmine sets in the past. I know he needs to find that opening. He needs to bring Sigilif in on a turn where it can start setting up. If it gets a Carmine up, it can live a hit from Noivern. It can comfortably take out like a more offensive Rhyperior without bulk, with Ice Beam, if he can chip me. And Umbreon's burnt, so I'm not going to be doing anything to that Sigilif there. So it's pretty vital that I don't allow him to come in freely, which is why I actually pulled the pin this turn and made the double here. So I don't expect him to stay in with this. If he does stay in, then I'm in a really tough spot, but I fully expect him to go Sigilif here, and that is why I make the double into Rhyperior. Rhyperior is the only thing at the moment outside of Rotom maybe that can threaten this. Like if he's Carmine though, Rotom won't be doing too much threatening unless I got a power with Discharge, so Rhyperior is my best way of forcing this out, and I'm going to capitalize on an expected sack on his part by just rock polishing up this turn. If he stays in and goes for Ice Beam, I live the hit and proc Weakness Policy, as he does end up going into his Hydreigon here for the sack. Had I attacked, he would have just been able to bring in Barraskewda the following turn, and I would have been in a tough spot. So Rock Polish puts me in a really prime position to win this game, and that positioning is key in these sort of games. Just understanding what your opponent's got to do to come out on top, and playing proactively to avoid that happening, and positioning yourself in the best spot to win, which is what I did here. So gonna go for the EQ here. He's especially defensive. Jellicent, he always dies there to that EQ. And funnily enough, I actually live with Solid Rock. I live a Scald there. So unless he burnt me, I was in a great spot. But even if he attacked me with Scald and burnt me, he proc my Weakness Policy there. So wasn't going to be too bad there. As we're going to outspeed, take out the Barraskewda there with the Stone Edge. And I was disabled, so yeah, he actually disabled my EQ, so I had to risk the Stone Edge there, and we land. And I'm going to miss this next Stone Edge, as he's going to go for the Ice Beam, and that's going to do a big chunk, but Rhyperior is thick, and we're going to take out the Sigilif the following turn with Stone Edge. So that was a really exciting semis game. The 5-0 definitely doesn't represent how close this game was. It was a real back and forth, and probably my most enjoyable game so far in ITL this season. It was a real back and forth, and I think like we were constantly sort of wrestling control over the game back and forth for one another. So yeah, really fun one. Congrats to Moran on a great season, and we're going to jump into the following match. Alright, so we're back here with finals, and this time we're facing off against Sebi, long-time ITL player, a really solid player, and he had a great season. He drafted a pretty interesting team. He's got Pex, Pharaoh, Hatterene, which is a mon that I really want to use, and then a bunch of offense, stuff like Haxorus and Surfetched, Inteleon. He's got a nice defensive backbone with a ton of offensive threats with good speed, good priority on his team, so overall a really solid draft. But yeah, we're here in finals, and there's one mon on my team that I think has a great matchup here and something that I can abuse pretty nicely, and that is Vanillux. So Vanillux here, the Ice Cream, Chilling, the Menace. Definitely, I think the mon I enjoyed using most all season, that's for sure. It's such a great mon, and is really just, yeah, a menace here. So I'm never Melt Ice, Protect, Freeze Dry, Blizzard, and Ice Shard on this. It really just goes in, just mono ice coverage. Can really do a number in his team. Banned Rhyperior, but Berry Clef again to help check a Dragon Dance boosting Iron Tail Haxorus. I'm a lefties Umbreon, just Spidef, mainly for things like his Drampa, his Inteleon, which with the Snipe Shot and the increased critical chance is a real threat to my team, honestly. I've got, again, a specially defensive Roserade here, which does help me check that Inteleon, massive threat. I'm Papaya Berry to help me check his Hatterene as well, so a bit of a mixed utility on this Roserade. I can throw up spikes versus a lot of his team. His Hatterene won't want to come in on my Roserade, so it's a pretty good spiker in that regard. And then I have Haban, Noivern as a secondary response to Haxorus. You can tell here I was pretty concerned about Haxorus when it came to prepping for this game, and I'm pretty defensive on my Noivern actually. I've got a ton of bulk, ton of defense. I've got 16 special attack to emphasize how little I have in this, as Pharaoh gets cooked by Flamethrower. His Haxorus dies to Draco anyway, so yeah, that's going to be the squad. We're going to jump into it. I'm leading Vanillux. I think he's going to lead with one of his hazard setters. I actually think he's going to lead with his Mudsdale, to be honest, based on the potential for me leading my Rhyperior. If he does lead with Inteleon, which is one of the biggest threats to my team, I'm actually spec'd to live a Specs Hydro, so that's important with Vanillux. I'm going to lead my Vanillux as he does lead his Mudsdale. So that is the ideal situation we wanted. We wanted that nice lead matchup here, particularly important in finals. You want to be getting that matchup correct as much as possible. So going to go for the Blizzard here, and that's going to do a ton to this Pharaoh. So Hail really nice, negating any leftovers on Pharaoh, as Blizzard is going to take out his Ferrothorn here. So that we're 6-5 up, turn 2. As Hatterin's going to come in, going to fire off the Blizzard as he's going to go for the Trick Room here. I do live Mystical Fire if he is Life Orb Mystical Fire, but he's going to go for the Psyshock here and fail to take me out. So I had a nice amount of Spidef, but that Psyshock did quite a chunk, so not as much Fizz Def on this Vanillux, but a decent amount of Spidef. As Mudsdale's going to come back in. This time I'm going to protect. I'm going to protect up here as he just goes for the Heavy Slam. And now I'm going to go hard out into my Umbreon on the Heavy Slam, just scouting what kind of offensive investment this Mudsdale has that actually reveals to be offensive. So he's very offensive. He's like got like max attack, I think, at this point in the game. I don't think he's actually that defensively based, so he could be an Assault Vest set. These were the things that were occurring to me at this point in the match. But it's possible he might just be offensive lefties, so we're going to have to see. I do have a Rotom on my team, so I think this is his counterplay to a Rotom-heat, which has been a menace all season, so that was definitely like in the back of my mind. But I'm going to make the switch hard out into my Vanillux here. This would be a great time for him to get up rocks if he isn't Assault Vest. If he's actually like offensive rocks, this would be really clutch. Maybe catch me on a Protect, or just going for Foul Play or something like that. Maybe Wish. Getting our rocks would be really nice for him. So I'm just going to go back out into my Vanillux. If I get this play correct, I get to claim another kill with Vanillux, but he's actually going to go for close combat. And that signals to me that he's in fact Assault Vest. That's kind of backed up here. No lefties on this set. So I'm going to bring in Rotom, my Roserade here, who can threaten this out with a grass move. And I'm just going to throw up a Spike here as he goes out into Drampa, which was more than likely Sap Sipper based on the way he brought it in. He's going to go into Haxorus here as I just stay in and go for the Sludge Bomb. Nothing that Drampa can do can really threaten me. I've got a ton of Spidef on this thing, so I live anything like Specs, Flamethrower, or anything from that. And getting damage is key here in this endgame. So Haxorus is going to get chipped, and that's amazing for me. That's really nice. I'm going to switch out to my Noivern here, which covers him going for the Dragon Dance because I am Haban, and also covers him going for the Iron Tail, trying to catch my Togekiss there. So that's really nice for me. Togekiss can come in clutch in this late game versus the remaining members. So I'm just going to go for Flamethrower here and take out his Haxorus, as he's going to go into his Mudsdale the following turn. Now I'm very defensive, like I said, on this Noivern, so I can pretty nicely roost up, as he's going to go for the Rock Slide there and miss. Unfortunately for him, would have done a nice chunk, but wouldn't have done too much because I lost my flying typing. So even with my flying typing, it only does 45%. As I'm going to be able to chip down this Mudsdale, which is key for taking it out with the rest of my team later on. So going to continue to roost up. This is going to go on for quite a bit. We're just going to go through these mind games of roosting versus attacking, high horsepower versus rock slide. So he's going to go for the Heavy Slam, does 35. This time I'm going to switch out to my Umbreon as he goes for the rock slide, and I want to keep my Noivern a little bit healthy if I can. It's going to be useful to take on his Drampa eventually, so I'm just going to sacrifice my Umbreon to get that little bit of chip I need to put Mudsdale in range of anything. And now I'm going to go into Roserade and click Sludge Bomb. So Rose is in, he's going to go out into his Drampa, and I think this turn I go hard out into my Togekiss, yeah, because I want to preserve, like, if he's going to set the crit storm happening with his Inteleon with Snipe Shot and like his Focus Energy or whatever, I want my water resist to be alive. I don't want my water resist to be weakened, because Togekiss could get crit and taken out if I take any chip on this. So more okay with losing my Togekiss to this Grandpa if he does end up taking me out. So I'm just going to fire off some Dazzling Gleams, chip him down a bit. His Hyper Voice is doing enough to the point where I can roost up and get a little bit more health. If he crits me here, no big deal. I do have Rhyperior in the back and an Noivern with Draco, so I'm just going to try and get my Togekiss up to a nice amount, giving myself the best odds in the same game, as we'll eventually get up to a respectable amount, as here I am just going to do my last Morning Sun, and he's going to get a pretty low roll on that Hyper Voice there, which is nice for me actually, as he's going to bring in Inteleon here and actually set up the Rain, which is interesting. So his Rain, he could be Snipe Shot in this now, he could be Hydro, but he's going to go for the Snipe Shot, doesn't get a crit, and he's going to drop here to Dazzling Gleam. So that is Finals. Finals of ITL Season 9 versus Sebi. Fun one for sure, fun season. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the regular season games in the comments in the description if you are interested. And yeah, drop a like on the vid, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.